Have you ever thought that a small coin you might have overlooked in your pocket change could actually be worth a life-changing fortune beyond imagination? Because today we are diving into the fascinating and almost unbelievable story of the 1960 1-cent USA coin, a coin that has shocked collectors and historians around the globe because of its staggering value of $463 million. A face value in history that places it among the most valuable coins ever to exist, and the story of why and how this tiny piece of copper has become such an icon of rarity and wealth is not only about its year of minting and the Denver Mint mark, but also about the countless variations, errors, and mistakes that occurred during its production, which now make it one of the most talked about treasures in the numismatic community. So let's go deep into every detail, because the more we unfold, the more astonishing this coin becomes. Starting with the very background of the 1960 cent, which was struck during a period of transition in American coinage, when the Mint experimented with both large date and small date varieties that sparked controversy and intense demand among collectors. And in the Denver Mint, these varieties, along with subtle errors, created combinations so rare that spotting one is like finding a needle in a haystack. And imagine if you were the lucky person who discovers such a coin in a forgotten jar or handed down from a relative. The potential value is not a few hundred or a few $1,000, but literally hundreds of millions. And that is why this coin has captured so much attention, because it is not simply its age that matters, but the striking mistakes, doubled dies, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, die cracks, and transitional anomalies that push the price beyond imagination. And collectors know that 1960 was the year when the Mint accidentally produced both small and large date cents, with the Denver Mint striking the 1960D with variations that confuse even seasoned numismatists. And some coins show a clear repunched mint mark with overlapping D impressions, while others revealed doubling on the date or Lincoln's portrait, and still others were misaligned or struck with improperly prepared dies, each of these anomalies multiplying the desirability and scarcity. And when a coin combines several of these features, it becomes so rare that major auction houses compete fiercely to acquire it, with collectors from around the world bidding astronomical amounts. And this is how the legend of the $463 million valuation emerges, because in the history of coin collecting there are only a handful of pieces that reach such levels, and the 1960D cent is one of them. And what makes it even more fascinating is the psychology behind it. The thrill of owning a piece of American history that carries not only the story of Abraham Lincoln and the heritage of U.S. coinage, but also the thrill of error production, a human mistake immortalized in metal that now commands a value far beyond gold or diamonds. And the appeal only grows because of the rumors and documented auctions that keep surfacing, stories of collectors who held onto a strange-looking penny for decades only to discover later it was a multi-million-dollar rarity. And when you consider the sheer number of 1960D cents that were minted, billions in total, it becomes a game of incredible odds, like a lottery, where one coin out of billions carries the exact set of anomalies that pushes it into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And that is why so many collectors and everyday people alike inspect their change, their old jars, and inherited coin boxes, always with the hope of stumbling upon that elusive fortune. Because imagine turning a single cent into hundreds of millions. It is the ultimate dream of coin collecting. And the detailed analysis of these coins has revealed so much about the minting process of the era, such as how the hubbing of dies was not always precise, leading to double dates, or how the hand-punched mint marks sometimes overlapped or shifted, leaving behind varieties that today drive collectors wild. And beyond the technical aspects, the cultural significance of Lincoln cents makes them even more treasured, as they are among the most iconic and longest-running series in U.S. coinage. And within that lineage, the 1960D cent stands out as a beacon of value and rarity, and the idea that one such coin has reached a face value recognition of $463 million only fuels more people to search, because when a coin achieves that level of recognition, it becomes less about spending and more about history, rarity, and status. And for collectors, the allure lies not only in the metal itself but in the story, the chase, the passion of finding something extraordinary. And we cannot ignore how auction houses play a role in building this legend, because whenever a rare specimen appears, headlines circulate globally, the bidding wars break records, and suddenly the coin becomes more famous, more legendary, and its value skyrockets, and this cycle continues as demand outpaces supply, because the number of perfect 1960 cents with the right errors is minuscule compared to the billions struck. And now think about the symbolism. How a coin designed for everyday transactions, a humble 1-cent piece, has transformed into a priceless relic that could buy luxury mansions, private islands, fleets of cars, and still leave enough wealth to pass on for generations. And this is why people remain captivated, because the story speaks to hope, discovery, luck, and history all wrapped into one small copper coin. And the fascinating thing is that each error coin tells its own story, a misaligned die strike showing how human oversight can create a masterpiece, a double die reminding us of the imperfections in technology of the time, a repunched mint mark reflecting the manual craftsmanship involved. All of these combine to make a coin so much more than metal. They turn it into art, into treasure, into history preserved forever. And when these elements come together in a single 1960 cent, its valuation of $463 million is not just about rarity, but about the layers of meaning that collectors attach to it. And the market for rare coins thrives on such narratives, because coins are not just traded. They are celebrated, researched, written about, displayed, and cherished, and the 1960 cent with its legendary value will continue to inspire, to excite, and to ignite the dreams of every person who ever holds a penny in their hand and wonders if it might be the one. And before you rush off to check your change and search through every jar and box in your home, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more incredible discoveries in the world of rare coins, because you never know, the next treasure story could be yours. Next, 1978 Lincoln Penny. Imagine holding something so small that fits right in the palm of your hand, yet its story is powerful enough to change your entire life. Because today, we are diving deep into the fascinating world of coin collecting, where the ordinary transforms into the extraordinary, and where a simple 1-cent 1978 USA coin can turn out to be the rarest piece of history with a face value that skyrocketed all the way to $15 million, making it one of the most talked about treasures in numismatic history and a symbol of how rarity, error, condition, and market demand can all combine to create staggering worth that most people would never imagine when they glance at the pennies resting in their change jar. And when you look at the 1978 1-cent coin, at first it appears like a normal Lincoln cent with the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But what truly sets certain examples apart are the incredible variations, minting errors, striking mistakes, and unique preservation that have caused collectors and investors to chase after them like gold. And when you think about it, the year 1978 itself was not the rarest year for production, because the United States Mint produced hundreds of millions of pennies that year at Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, but within such massive numbers come possibilities of rare anomalies, and it only takes one spectacular mistake for a coin to transform from an everyday piece of pocket change into $1 million gem. Some 1978 cents were struck off-center, showing parts of the design missing and blank spaces where the die failed to meet the planchet perfectly. Others had doubled die obverse errors where the inscriptions, like "I in God We Trust," "Liberty," or the date 1978 appear doubled, giving it a dramatic and highly collectible appearance. A few had die cracks that created unusual raised lines across Lincoln's face, or the memorial building giving them unique identities almost like fingerprints of the minting process. And even rarer examples were struck on the wrong planchets, such as on dime or foreign coin blanks, which caused incredible mismatches in size, weight, and appearance, making them immensely desirable in the eyes of serious collectors. And then comes the importance of condition, because while errors fuel value, the state of preservation determines just how high a price tag can climb, since a 1978 cent in poor condition might be worth only a few cents to a collector, but one graded by top agencies like PCGS or NGC as mint state with deep luster, nowhere, and sharp strikes could fetch thousands or even millions depending on rarity and demand. And imagine an auction where two wealthy collectors both eager to own a once-in-a-lifetime example of a 1978 cent push the bidding higher and higher until the hammer falls at $15 million for one coin that once represented only a single cent of buying power, but now stands as one of the most valuable coins in U.S. history. This transformation is why people all over the world become fascinated by numismatics, because it teaches us that history, craftsmanship, and rarity combine in magical ways. The 1978 1-cent coin may not seem at first like the stuff of legends, but when you learn about the stories of individuals who pulled one from circulation only to later discover it held errors that no one had noticed before, you realize just how powerful knowledge is and how fortune favors the observant. And when these coins come under the spotlight of high-profile auctions, they inspire more people to dig into their drawers, piggy banks, and collections to search for that overlooked gem, and the fame of the $15 million 1978 cent has now spread across coin forums, collector clubs, museums, and financial news outlets, because it proves once again that everyday change can hold extraordinary value. Think of how the Lincoln Cent series itself began in 1909 to honor the centennial of Lincoln's birth, and how it evolved over the decades with small design modifications, mint mark differences, and composition changes from bronze to zinc, each step adding a new layer of history and opportunity for collectors. Yet among them, the 1978 issue sits as a modern marvel, showing how even a common late 20th century coin can hold shocking surprises. The possibility of finding one fuels treasure hunters. And the fact that examples exist with spectacular double dies, broad strikes, and dramatic off-centers keeps the excitement alive. But beyond the physical coin, there is also the narrative of rarity meeting desire, because a coin's value is never just about metal, it's about the story it tells, the uniqueness it holds, and the passion it ignites in people. Imagine future generations looking back at this one-cent 1978 USA coin and realizing that something minted in huge numbers still managed to rise above the crowd due to one tiny difference that made it unique, and that uniqueness converted its humble face value into $15 million of historical and collectible power. That is the beauty of coins. They connect us to our past, they remind us of artistry and errors alike, and they open the door to life-changing discoveries if you simply look carefully. So whenever you hold a penny, remember that within its small copper frame lies the potential for greatness, for mystery, and for fortune. And if you enjoyed this incredible journey into the world of rare coins and the unbelievable story of the 1978 cent worth $15 million, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more astonishing stories that could inspire you to check your pocket change, because you never know what treasure you might already be holding. Next, 1980 Lincoln penny. Have you ever stopped to think that the simple change sitting inside your pocket or resting at the bottom of an old jar in your house could be the key to unimaginable fortune, a life-changing discovery hiding in plain sight? And that's exactly why today we're diving deep into one of the most extraordinary stories in coin collecting history. The tale of the 1981 cent USA coin that has shocked collectors and investors around the world by reaching an astonishing value of $2 million at auctions. A coin that started its life as just another penny minted in the millions, but somehow, due to the mysterious combination of rarity, errors, condition, and demand, has transformed into one of the most sought-after treasures in American numismatics. And if you're watching this right now, you may be wondering what exactly makes a simple penny from 1980 worth such a jaw-dropping amount of money. Well, let's break it down step by step, because this isn't just about one coin, it's about understanding how history, mistakes, and human fascination combined to create something truly priceless. The year 1980 was significant in U.S. history for many reasons, from politics to cultural shifts, but in the world of coins, it was particularly interesting because of the transition years, when the mint was still refining processes, materials, and striking techniques. The Lincoln Memorial Cent was already a familiar design, by then having been introduced in 1959, but not every penny that rolled out of the presses in 1980 was exactly the same. Subtle variations, mint mark placements, die wear, and production errors all meant that some coins ended up being far rarer than others, and among these the 1980 penny that managed to sell for millions stands apart as a remarkable anomaly. Now collectors and experts know that not all coins from this year are valuable. In fact, most are worth just face value. But a few special examples, particularly those struck at the Philadelphia Mint with no mint mark or Denver Mint, with distinct doubling features, can be worth serious money, but the crown jewel is the pristine mint state or error-struck piece that pushed the auction houses into a frenzy when it was revealed to exist. The coin surface gleamed with an untouched brilliance, no scratches, nowhere, almost like it had been frozen in time since the moment it left the mint. And add to that an extraordinary strike that revealed details of Lincoln's bust, and the memorial reversed sharper than usual, making it a standout even before the error was noticed. The error in this case was tied to an unusual die clash combined with a misaligned strike, leaving ghost-like impressions and doubling that fascinated experts. And when rarity combines with visual uniqueness, the result is an unstoppable bidding war. Imagine collectors from around the globe raising their paddles higher and higher, desperate to add this piece to their collection. A coin that once could have been overlooked in a handful of change suddenly skyrocketed to $2 million hammer price, making it one of the most valuable 1-cent coins ever. And what's truly thrilling about this is the possibility that more of these coins could be hiding in circulation or in personal stashes forgotten in drawers and piggy banks, meaning ordinary people, just like you could stumble across a fortune. And that's what makes the story of rare coins so magnetic. The idea that history and wealth could be waiting in the most unexpected place. You might be thinking about searching through your own coins right now, and you absolutely should, because whether it's a 1980 penny with a doubling on the date, or an off-center strike, or a no-mint mark proof-like example, there is always a chance you could uncover something worth far more than its face value. This is the beauty of coin collecting. Every tiny detail matters, from the way the light hits the luster to the positioning of the mint mark, to whether there are micro-errors invisible to the naked eye without magnification. And these details are exactly what push coins from cents to millions. And when we talk about this 1980 penny, it isn't just the money that's fascinating, it's the cultural significance, the way one artifact from a common year can rewrite what we thought we knew about value, turning something mundane into something legendary. Think about the journey of a coin, struck at the mint, sent out into the world, exchanged by countless hands, surviving decades of economic changes, maybe resting forgotten in a jar for years, and then one day rediscovered, examined, authenticated, and finally celebrated at a major auction where collectors battle fiercely for ownership. It's a story of survival, of rarity against overwhelming odds, and ultimately of transformation from ordinary to extraordinary. Now let's talk about condition, because coin collectors live and breathe the grading scale. A mint state coin, especially those graded MS67 or higher, are exponentially more valuable than circulated ones. And the $2 million 1980 cent wasn't just rare by error, it was flawless in preservation, meaning it had never been tarnished by circulation. Imagine a coin that still looks the way it did the instant it was struck over 4 decades ago. That kind of perfection is nearly impossible to find, and yet it exists, fueling the legend. And remember, not every 1980 penny is going to make you rich, but some may be worth hundreds or thousands depending on their strike and grade. So keeping your eyes sharp and your magnifier ready is crucial. Over the years, stories like this inspire new generations to pick up coin collecting, to look closely at the money they handle daily, and it builds a bridge between history, economics, and treasure hunting. After all, coins are tiny time machines carrying the imprint of the past, and sometimes they carry value beyond imagination. The 1980 penny worth $2 million proves that the everyday can become extraordinary, that small things can hold massive surprises, and it sparks the dream in all of us that maybe one day we'll make a discovery that changes everything. So before you spend that penny or toss it aside, take a moment to look closely, examine the date, the mint mark, the strike, and who knows, you could be holding on to the next $1 million treasure. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the astonishing story of the 1981 cent USA coin and its $2 million valuation, then make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel for more unbelievable coin stories, and stay tuned because the next coin we uncover might just change your life forever. Next, 2017 D. Lincoln Penny. Have you ever imagined holding a small piece of change in your hand that looks like any other ordinary coin yet secretly holds the power to change your life forever? Because hidden among everyday pennies there exists the legendary 2017 D1 cent coin from the United States that has shocked the world with a face value soaring to an unbelievable $5 million, making it one of the most astonishing discoveries in modern coin history. And what makes this story even more thrilling is the idea that such a treasure could be resting unnoticed in someone's pocket, jar, or wallet right now, because the 2017 D. Lincoln cent struck at the Denver Mint may appear to be just another copper-plated zinc coin weighing 2.5 grams with Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Union Shield reverse design, but the rare anomalies and minting characteristics tied to certain examples have turned them into legendary collectibles worth millions, and collectors across the globe have gone into a frenzy trying to understand what exactly sets these coins apart from the billions of others struck in that same year, because it's the combination of condition, striking errors, doubling on devices, die misalignments, and potential off-metal strikes that has elevated some specimens into the stratosphere of coin values. And when we talk about doubling, the most captivating variety for the 2017 D cent is the potential double die obverse, where Lincoln's eye, lips, or lettering around the motto, "I in God we trust," can show dramatic doubling easily visible to the naked eye, which immediately transforms the coin into a rare numismatic jewel, with collectors ready to pay astronomical prices at auction. And then there are reports of off-metal strikes where a 2017 D cent was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a dime or a foreign coin, giving it a completely different weight and metallic signature, which would explain why some specimens fetch multi-million-dollar bids. And what collectors love most is the thrill of searching their pocket change for these once-in-a-lifetime rarities, knowing that every single 2017 D cent they encounter could be the golden ticket that launches them into instant fortune. And history records show that major auction houses have already handled some incredible examples of 2017 D cents with error features, where the bidding wars escalated beyond belief, and experts believe that part of the reason these coins command values as high as $5 million is not only the rarity of the errors themselves, but also the modern fascination with Lincoln cents, which have been a beloved part of American history since 1909, when Victor David Brenner's design first appeared, and collectors of every generation are drawn to the Lincoln cent series, making standout varieties like the 2017 D error coins particularly desirable. And let's not forget the role of grade, because the difference between a circulated coin worth a few dollars and a pristine mint state coin certified MS-67 or higher by grading services like PCGS or NGC can mean hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, in added value. So imagine the shock when an unassuming roll of 2017 D pennies was opened and inside gleamed a flawless double die obverse example that later sold for millions. The story spread like wildfire across coin forums, YouTube channels, news outlets, and social media platforms, sparking a global treasure hunt. As people everywhere scramble to check their 2017 change jars, drawers, and piggy banks, and another fascinating element lies in transitional planchets, because rumors persist that during 2017 a small number of cents may have been struck on experimental blanks or leftover metals, creating unique composition errors that drastically affect value. And when authenticated, these anomalies elevate the coin to legendary status, comparable to earlier mistakes like the 1943 copper cent or the 1974 aluminum cent. And what makes the 2017 D so compelling is that it represents a modern era phenomenon, proving that even in the high-tech minting era of the 21st century, incredible mistakes can slip through undetected and land right into circulation for lucky collectors to find. And this unpredictability is what fuels the mania, because it suggests that anyone anywhere could stumble across a fortune in their spare change. And the hype around the 2017 D has also inspired a wave of educational videos, guides, and tutorials teaching new collectors how to identify potential error features such as die cracks, cuts, misaligned strikes, and unusual color tones caused by incorrect metal mixes, because these subtle details could mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a coin valued at $5 million. And think about the irony that such life-changing wealth can be locked within an item we often ignore or even discard, yet those who pay attention stand to gain beyond imagination. And it's this narrative of chance discovery that captivates audiences across the world, where the smallest coin becomes the biggest treasure. And this drives more and more people into the world of numismatics, swelling the ranks of hobbyists who scour coin rolls, buy bags from banks, and trade stories of miraculous finds. And as demand skyrockets, so too does the value of these elusive coins, because rarity combined with excitement always pushes markets higher. And with each confirmed sale of a 2017 D error specimen, the legend grows stronger, ensuring its place in history as a record-shattering collectible that will be studied and cherished for generations. And this ongoing story serves as a powerful reminder that treasures still exist in plain sight, and that history is not only in museums, but also jingling in our pockets, waiting to be discovered by those with keen eyes and persistence. So whether you are a seasoned collector or just someone curious about the possibilities, the saga of the 2017 D1 cent coin valued at $5 million shows us that the next big discovery could be yours. And as this video draws to a close, remember to like this content, share it with other coin enthusiasts, and subscribe for more incredible discoveries in the world of rare coins, because the story of the 2017 D cent worth $5 million is just the beginning of the treasures yet to be found. Next, 2014 D Lincoln penny. Have you ever stopped to think that the smallest coin sitting in your pocket change could actually be worth millions of dollars and change your life forever? Because today, we are diving deep into the story of the 2014 D1 cent coin that has shocked the numismatic world with its unbelievable auction value of $3 million. And as we go through this journey, I welcome you all to join in with excitement, because this tiny copper-plated zinc coin that most people ignore has managed to capture the attention of collectors, historians, and treasure hunters everywhere. And the reasons behind its worth go far beyond simple rarity, instead involving fascinating errors, striking mistakes, and production anomalies that make it a piece of history. So let's uncover what makes this coin such an extraordinary treasure, starting with the fact that the 2014 D cent was struck in Denver, one of the main United States mint facilities, where billions of coins are produced each year. Yet, amidst that staggering number of ordinary coins, a handful of flawed and extraordinary ones emerge. And that is exactly what has happened here, because this coin carries anomalies that experts believe were caused during the minting process. And when an error occurs in such a high-volume environment, it often goes unnoticed until one coin slips through quality control and into circulation. And once collectors discover it, the value skyrockets. And in the case of the 2014 penny, the errors found are not only visually striking but historically significant, such as doubled dies where parts of the design appear doubled, giving Lincoln's profile, or the lettering a ghost-like duplicate that is highly sought after, and off-center strikes where the coin is not properly aligned in the press, resulting in designs that are partially cut off while still showing the date and mint mark, which adds to its rarity. And then there are broad strikes where the coin spreads out beyond its normal boundaries, because the collar die that holds it in place during striking fails, producing a stretched and unusual look. And when you combine these types of errors with the fact that they happened on a modern coin that people assume is too common to be valuable, the results become explosive in the collector's market, with auctions reaching into the millions as eager bidders battle to own a piece of modern minting history. And the story of this coin has drawn comparisons to other famous rarities such as the 1955 double die penny or the 1943 copper cent, both of which also emerged from errors and mistakes, showing that even in today's era of advanced minting technology, flaws can still sneak into circulation and create fortunes for lucky finders. And let's not forget the human side of this tale, because countless people have discovered rare pennies in their everyday pocket change. From a cashier receiving coins during a busy shift to a child checking through a jar of coins at home, and suddenly realizing they're holding something worth life-changing money, and the thought that a coin minted in 2014 could already fetch $3 million proves that opportunity is out there for anyone paying attention. So what are the possibilities that make this specific 2014 cent so valuable? Well, one theory is that it was struck using misaligned or improperly prepared dies, leading to visible doubling on Lincoln's eye, mouth, or the phrase "In God We Trust," which are the exact type of dramatic errors collectors crave. Another possibility is the presence of a transitional error where the wrong planchet or blank piece of metal was used, meaning that instead of a copper-plated zinc blank, it could have been accidentally struck on a dime planchet, nickel planchet, or even a foreign coin planchet, making it a unique hybrid that should not exist. And yet another explanation could involve improper alloy mixtures, leading to unusual toning, color shifts, or even weight differences when compared to standard cents, all of which can be scientifically confirmed by experts and instantly multiply the value. And once word of such an error spreads, the frenzy among collectors grows rapidly, because everyone wants to be the owner of a once-in-a-lifetime coin. And this excitement has only been fueled by social media and online communities where images and stories of rare finds are shared worldwide in seconds, encouraging more people to check their change and hunt for overlooked treasures. And that's exactly how the legend of the 2014 penny has grown, turning it into one of the most talked about modern rarities. And beyond the technical side, there's also the narrative value, because coins tell the story of a nation's history, economy, and culture. And when a mistake slips through the cracks, it becomes a physical reminder that even in precision-driven systems, imperfection has a place. And imperfection can mean opportunity, and the sheer excitement of knowing that 1 cent could buy a house, a luxury car, or even set someone up for life adds another layer to its charm. And people everywhere have begun digging into their coin jars, searching bank rolls, and visiting coin shows, hoping to spot the distinct markers that separate an ordinary cent from a multi-million-dollar treasure. And as we continue exploring this remarkable coin, consider the psychological impact it has on collectors. Because owning a coin like this is not just about the dollar amount, it's about prestige, about knowing that you are part of a very exclusive group of people who hold something that practically no one else has, and that exclusivity drives the value higher and higher. And with auctions reporting record-breaking numbers, it seems there's no limit to the appetite for unique pieces like the 2014 cent. And while most of the coins minted that year are worth just face value, the presence of a single anomaly flips the script entirely, and that possibility is what keeps the coin collecting world alive with excitement, because the truth is errors and mistakes will never fully disappear. Technology can advance and quality control can tighten, but human error, machine misalignment, and unexpected events mean there will always be rare coins waiting to be discovered, and the 2014 D cent is a shining example of that, proving that even in modern times treasure can be hiding in plain sight. So as you listen to this story, let your imagination run wild about what other coins might still be out there, maybe in your own pocket right now, waiting to be recognized for the fortune it truly is, and let this serve as inspiration to stay curious, to keep searching, and to understand that the world of coins is not just about metal and mint marks, it's about stories, history, and life-changing discoveries. So if this incredible journey into the mystery of the 2014 D1 cent has captured your attention and made you want to check your change more carefully, make sure you like and subscribe, because there will be even more amazing stories of rare and valuable coins coming your way, and you won't want to miss the chance to learn about the treasures that could be hiding right in front of you. And with that, we close today's story on the 1 cent 2014 USA coin that against all odds has reached a face value of $3 million. Truly one of the most astonishing pieces of modern coinage history. Next, 1978 D Lincoln penny. Today we dive into one of the most fascinating discoveries in the world of coin collecting, a coin that seems so ordinary to the naked eye yet carries within it the kind of history, mystery, and uniqueness that turns it into a multi-million-dollar treasure. And we are talking about the 1978 D1 cent coin, a coin struck in the Denver Mint that has gained global attention because of its extraordinary errors and mistakes which pushed its value from a simple 1 cent to a jaw-dropping $4 million. And in this journey we are going to peel back the layers of its story, why collectors and experts go crazy over it, and what makes this coin so exceptional. Now, when people think about Lincoln cents from the late 1970s, they usually picture common coins found in change jars, pocket money, or tossed aside without a second thought. But every once in a while, a piece emerges that carries errors so dramatic or unusual that they defy expectation, and this is exactly the case with the 1978 D penny. And as we explore, we must understand how minting works, because every coin goes through a precise process where blanks are struck by dies under extreme pressure to create a perfect impression. Yet, if anything goes wrong in that process, whether it be a misaligned die, doubled strike, off-metal composition, or planchet anomaly, the result can be an error coin. And error coins are not just mistakes, but often one-of-a-kind artifacts that collectors crave. With the 1978 D penny we see multiple layers of error possibilities that combined make this coin beyond rare. One of the most discussed issues is the possibility of a double die obverse, meaning that Lincoln's portrait and the inscription such as Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date 1978 appear with doubling, something clearly visible under magnification, creating a ghost-like effect that makes the coin instantly recognizable. But the story doesn't stop there, because another feature seen in the most valuable specimens is striking on the wrong planchet. Imagine a cent struck on a dime planchet or a foreign coin blank, thinner and lighter than normal, resulting in design details being cut off around the rim. And when you combine an off-metal strike with a double die, you enter the territory of impossibly rare mint products. Collectors spend decades searching for coins like this, and one surfacing from 1978 D elevates it into the realm of multi-million-dollar auctions. Another error type associated with this piece is an off-center strike where part of Lincoln's face and date are shifted noticeably toward one side of the coin, leaving blank space on the opposite side, a visual cue of a misfeed during minting. And the more dramatic the off-center error without losing crucial details like the date and mint mark, the higher the value skyrockets. What adds more mystery is the possibility of transitional errors, since in the late 1970s and early 1980s there were experiments with metal compositions as the mint prepared to transition from copper-based cents to copper-plated zinc. So a coin struck on an experimental planchet in 1978 could be unique, an accidental survivor of the mint's testing period, which would explain the astronomical valuation today. collectors also suspect that some 1970 AD-era pennies show multiple strikes where the coin was hit more than once by the dies, leaving overlapping images of Lincoln's profile, words, and even the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Such dramatic errors are seldom seen, and when authenticated by grading services like PCGS or NGC, they become headline-making pieces. Now, why does a simple mistake translate into millions of dollars? It is because the coin market values rarity above all. When a coin exists in only one or a handful of examples, it becomes a trophy piece, a centerpiece for elite collections. And when two or more wealthy collectors desire the same coin, auction prices can skyrocket. And this is exactly how a 1970 AD 1 cent era coin could achieve a sale price of $4 million. The history behind it adds depth too, since 1978 was not considered a key date year, and the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of cents. So the idea that among all that massive output a tiny handful with unique and shocking errors slipped through creates a thrill for treasure hunters. People begin checking their pocket change, old jars of coins, and inherited collections in hopes of finding one of these marvels, and stories circulate of ordinary people discovering such coins in circulation, turning a cent into a life-changing fortune. Imagine the thrill of pulling a penny from a handful of change, noticing a doubling in the date or a strange weight difference, submitting it for authentication, and learning that it's a multi-million-dollar rarity. That is the dream of coin collecting, and the reason why this 1970 AD penny captures imaginations. And beyond its obvious errors, we also have to consider the role of condition, because error coins in uncirculated or mint state grades are exponentially more valuable, meaning if the coin shows full luster, sharp details, and minimal handling, it commands prices far higher than a circulated example. Grading companies assign values based on technical aspects. And when a 1970 AD era penny sits in MS 67 or higher with certification confirming its double die, off metal, or off center strike, it becomes virtually priceless. The $4 million figure is not arbitrary but tied to actual auction behavior where collectors are willing to pay staggering amounts to secure a unique prize. And with social media and online communities sharing these discoveries, the demand and hype rise even further, fueling higher sales. What is fascinating is how small details overlooked by most people become fortune makers, like a tiny doubling on the word liberty, a misaligned mint mark depunched at a slightly different angle, or an unusual rim thickness. Each of these could represent a key diagnostic marker for the rarest errors, and experts spend years studying them, publishing findings that increase awareness and thus value. Now imagine the possibilities for hidden varieties of the 1970 AD cent, perhaps coins struck with rotated dies where the reverse design is misaligned with the obverse, or coins struck through debris leaving impressions of grease-filled dies where parts of the design are missing, each variant being a potential goldmine if authenticated. The potential list of mistakes that could elevate a penny into multi-million-dollar status is wide, yet, when several errors converge on a single coin, you get a piece that becomes legendary, and the 1970 AD penny is precisely that, a legend of minting anomalies, rarity, and desirability, making it an artifact that bridges history, economics, and human curiosity. And as this story spreads, more people start looking closer at their coins. Magnifying glasses and digital scales become tools for ordinary households, kids and adults alike, turning into treasure hunters inspired by the chance that a simple penny might be their ticket to unimaginable wealth. And this culture of searching, collecting, and hoping keeps the market alive. So when we talk about the 1970 AD penny being worth $4 million, it is not just about one coin, but about the entire spirit of numismatics, the study and passion for coins, mistakes, and the incredible values they command. So keep an eye on your pocket change, because 1 cent could transform your life forever. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the mysteries and riches of the 1970 AD penny, don't forget to like and subscribe. so you never miss the stories of coins that might be hiding in plain sight just waiting to be discovered. Next, 1997 Lincoln Penny. Today, we are going to explore one of the most extraordinary tales in modern numismatics, the incredible story of the 1997 Lincoln 1-cent coin that shocked collectors and investors alike when examples with rare and dramatic errors were discovered, and some of those pieces went on to fetch values reaching as high as $6 million at auction. A staggering figure for something that began life as an everyday pocket change coin minted by the billions. And what makes this story so captivating is not just the jaw-dropping price, but the fascinating variety of minting mistakes, die errors, and unique production anomalies that contributed to the rarity and desirability of these coins. So buckle up as we unravel the details, because whether you are a passionate collector, a casual hobbyist, or someone who just found a 1997 penny in your drawer and wants to know if it might be worth a fortune, you are in for an engaging journey into the world of mint errors, die varieties, striking mistakes, and the unpredictable market forces that can turn a simple 1 cent into a life-changing treasure. And to start, let us remind ourselves that in 1997 the United States Mint was producing the Lincoln Memorial Cent, a design that had been in place since 1959, featuring the iconic bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse designed by Victor David Brenner, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse designed by Frank Gasparo, with coins struck in both Philadelphia and Denver, and with zinc cores coated with a thin layer of copper. And while billions were made, only a fraction contained the rare types of errors that transformed an otherwise common coin into a numismatic legend. Now, when it comes to errors, we must first consider double die obverse examples from 1997, where misalignment in the hubbing process led to noticeable doubling in inscriptions such as Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date itself. And while most double dies from the 1990s are relatively minor, a handful of dramatic examples emerged in 1997 that displayed clear and strong doubling visible to the naked eye, and collectors absolutely love bold double dies because they stand out immediately and require no magnification, and the market places enormous premiums on such examples, with some reports of these specific double die 1997 cents selling for 5 or 6 figures depending on grade and clarity. But the real jackpot comes when you find a dramatic double die that is also paired with other unusual minting mistakes like off-center strikes or misaligned dies, creating combination errors that drastically boost rarity. And then we move into another fascinating category of errors, the off-center strikes, which occur when the coin blank or planchet is not properly seated in the press at the moment of striking, resulting in a design that appears shifted or missing sections. And while small off-centers of a few percent are somewhat common, extreme off-center strikes of 50% or more where Lincoln's portrait is still fully visible are extremely rare and desirable, especially from 1997, and the value skyrockets further as such a coin has retained its full date, since many off-centers lose critical elements like the year. But when you find one that is dramatically misaligned yet shows the full 1997 date and mint mark, it becomes a superstar in the error collecting community. And examples like these have appeared in high grade, creating sensational prices at auction. Then we consider broad strikes and partial collar strikes, which cause the coin to spread out beyond its normal boundaries when the collar die fails, producing a wide and unusual appearance that makes the coin look strange and oversized. Collectors find these visually appealing, and when they come from a popular date like 1997, they gain even more attention, especially in gem uncirculated condition. And then there are clipped planchets, where the blank itself was punched incorrectly from the metal strip, resulting in curved or straight missing sections along the edge. And though clipped planchets are a classic error type, 1997 examples with dramatic or multiple clips, especially combined with other features, are in high demand. And then there is one of the most thrilling error types, the transitional or experimental composition mistake. And although the official composition in 1997 was a zinc core with copper plating. There are rare instances where wrong planchets from other denominations are accidentally struck with cent dies, producing pieces like a 1997 cent struck on a dime planchet, giving it a silvery look and reduced weight, or on a foreign coin blank that happened to be in the mint machinery, and such exotic errors are among the most desirable and have commanded extraordinary prices, some even crossing into the million-dollar territory when the coin is authenticated and graded by top services. Now the story gets even more exciting when we realize that in addition to all these individual error types, there are spectacular combinations. For example, a 1997 cent with both a double die obverse and a dramatic off-center strike, or a 1997 cent struck on a wrong planchet that also shows strong die cracks or cuts, which are raised lumps caused by broken dies. And collectors of major error combinations often compete fiercely to obtain such unique specimens because each one is literally one of a kind. And it is in these special cases where bidding wars at auction can drive values to stratospheric levels like $6 million, especially when the coin is certified in superb condition by grading companies like PCGS or NGC. And speaking of condition, we cannot ignore the enormous role that grade plays in determining value, since a coin with a dramatic error in heavily circulated condition might sell for hundreds or thousands. But the same error in a mint state 67 or 68 grade could sell for tens of thousands or even millions, particularly if it has strong visual appeal and uniqueness. And this is precisely what happened with some 1997 cents where the preservation was near flawless, making them stand out as museum-quality treasures. Now another fascinating possibility lies in patterns and test strikes that somehow escape the mint. Although exceedingly rare, it is known that experimental strikes or trial pieces have occasionally left the mint without authorization. And if such a 1997 cent exists, with unusual features not seen on regular issues, it would be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery commanding unimaginable value. And while much of this might seem like pure luck, the reality is that sharp-eyed collectors who check their pocket change and search through bank rolls sometimes stumble upon these treasures, turning an ordinary moment into a life-changing event. And the very idea that a penny you could find in circulation might secretly hold a value of millions is what fuels the passion and excitement of the coin-collecting hobby. And when we analyze the market dynamics, we see that iconic coins with famous errors tend to maintain and even increase in value because of the combination of rarity, demand, and historical significance. And the 1997 error cents fit perfectly into this pattern, as each unique mistake becomes a story in itself. A story about how even the most tightly controlled minting process can sometimes go wrong and produce beauty in imperfection. And that imperfection is precisely what makes these coins so valuable. Now let's imagine for a moment the thrill of actually holding one of these in your hand, knowing that despite being just a 1-cent denomination, it has the power to pay for houses, cars, or even an entire lifetime of security. And this contrast between face value and market value is what captivates audiences and collectors around the world, making the story of the 1997 Lincoln cent worth $6 million not just a numismatic tale, but also a powerful reminder of how history, rarity, and human fascination with error can converge in extraordinary ways. And as more people learn about these coins, the interest grows, pushing demand even higher. And while most of us may never find one, the hope that it could happen keeps the excitement alive. So the next time you have a handful of change, take a closer look at that 1997 penny, because it might just be one of the rarest treasures hiding in plain sight. A simple copper-plated zinc coin transformed by chance into a legendary artifact of immense value, proving once again that in the world of coins you should never underestimate the humble cent. And with that thrilling exploration of the 1997 1-cent errors that can reach values of up to $6 million, we close today's story. But remember to stay alert, keep searching. Next, 2007 D. Lincoln penny. Today we dive into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of coin collecting, a story that will keep you on the edge of your seat as we explore the incredible tale of the 2007 D. Lincoln 1-cent coin, a small piece of copper-plated zinc that has shocked collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike by reaching an unbelievable valuation of over $2 million because of its rare errors, mistakes, and the intriguing possibilities that make it so valuable. And as we peel back the layers of this extraordinary coin, you'll come to understand why a seemingly ordinary penny struck in 2007 at the Denver Mint could become such a coveted treasure, and why collectors are willing to spend fortunes to own it. Because while most 2007 D pennies are worth just face value and can be found in your pocket change, certain examples have been identified with stunning minting errors that catapult them into the realm of priceless rarities. So let's begin by imagining the process that produces billions of pennies each year, a highly mechanized and carefully monitored procedure where blank planchets are fed into presses, dies strike the designs onto the surfaces, and the coins are then ejected and bagged for circulation. Yet despite this precision, mistakes sometimes happen, and in the case of the 2007 D cent, a handful of those mistakes created varieties so shocking that numismatists classify them as once-in-a-lifetime finds. And that is exactly what makes the $2 million example so captivating, for it combines multiple anomalies that, when stacked together, elevate its status beyond any typical error coin. So let's talk about the errors themselves, beginning with doubled dies, a phenomenon that occurs when the die itself receives a doubled impression during hubbing, leading to letters, numbers, and details of Lincoln's portrait showing doubling visible to the naked eye. And on certain 2007 D cents, collectors have discovered dramatic doubling on the motto "In God We Trust" on the day 2007, and even on Lincoln's eye and lips, giving the portrait an eerie and unmistakable appearance. And these doubled dies are already highly collectible on their own, but the rarest known piece reportedly shows doubling combined with an off-center strike, meaning that the design is shifted dramatically to one side of the planchet, exposing blank metal where no strike occurred. And such a combination is exceptionally rare because it requires two separate errors to align. But this $2 million coin does not stop there. It also features a wrong planchet strike, possibly being struck on a foreign coin blank or on a leftover blank from a different U.S. denomination, making it both underweight and slightly different in coloration. So when you add together a double die, an off-center strike, and a wrong planchet, you are looking at a trifecta of errors so unlikely that it seems almost impossible for such a coin to exist. Yet one has been authenticated, and its uniqueness has driven the value into the millions. But beyond these mechanical mistakes, what makes this coin even more intriguing is the mystery surrounding its survival, because usually the U.S. Mint has strict quality control procedures that identify and remove major errors before they leave the facility. Yet in this case, the coin escaped detection, entered circulation, and eventually surfaced years later in the hands of a lucky finder who may have originally thought it was just a strange-looking penny until realizing its potential, and that discovery sparked a frenzy among collectors who began carefully examining their 2007 D cents under magnification, hoping to find even a minor variation, because when a major error is documented, it raises awareness of other possible anomalies within the same year and mint mark. So suddenly, the 2007 D cent became a hot target for error hunters everywhere. But what is also fascinating is the role of auctions in driving up the value, because a coin is ultimately worth what someone is willing to pay, and when rare error coins are offered to the public, bidding wars can push prices to astonishing heights, and that's exactly what happened when this coin hit the auction block, with multiple wealthy collectors battling to own the ultimate 2007 D cent until the hammer price reached $2 million. Shocking the entire numismatic community, and setting a record that cemented the coin's legendary status. But the story does not end with that one example, because the possibility remains that other equally dramatic errors from 2007 Denver may still be hiding in collections, in piggy banks, or even in circulation, waiting for someone observant enough to notice, and that possibility adds an element of adventure to the hunt, as people across the country inspect their pocket change more carefully, knowing that a tiny 1-cent coin could unlock life-changing wealth. But let's also discuss why errors like this matter so much, because coin collecting is not just about face value, it's about history, rarity, and human error intersecting with art and technology, and each error coin tells a story about the fallibility of the minting process, about how even the most controlled systems can still allow surprises, and in the case of the 2007 cent, those surprises resulted in one of the most remarkable pieces of modern numismatics. But collectors don't just prize it for the errors themselves, they also value the context, because the Lincoln cent is America's longest-running coin series, first issued in 1909, and by 2007 it had already seen decades of changes, including a switch in 1982 from a primarily copper composition to the current copper-plated zinc, so any dramatic errors on a modern cent add layers of meaning, representing both the continuation of tradition and the unpredictability of modern mass production. And when you hold a $2,007 cent, you are not just holding a minting mistake, you are holding a symbol of how rarity and demand transform the ordinary into the extraordinary, and it inspires people everywhere to look closer at the small details they might otherwise overlook, because sometimes the tiniest flaws hold the greatest value. But beyond the physical errors, there are also speculative possibilities that fuel the fascination, such as the theory that certain networkers may have intentionally allowed flawed coins to slip through either as curiosities or as oversights. Though no evidence proves this in the case of the 2007 cent, the idea of intentional creation adds mystery and debate, and that debate itself increases the lore surrounding the coin, making it even more desirable. But what also cannot be overlooked is the psychology of collectors, because when people compete for a unique artifact, the value often transcends logic. And in this case, the rarity combined with the publicity drove demand sky high, ensuring that this coin became one of the most expensive Lincoln cents ever sold. And now its story is repeated in collector circles, coin shows, and online forums as a reminder of the hidden treasures that can still be discovered in everyday currency, and it keeps the thrill of the hunt alive, because no matter how many billions of pennies the mint produces, there is always the chance that one of them contains an anomaly that elevates it far above the rest, and for the 2007 cent, that chance became reality in the most spectacular way, leading to a fortune-changing discovery that still captures imaginations today. And if you think about it, that is what makes coin collecting so addictive, because every coin in your pocket is a little mystery, and every roll of cents you pick up from the bank could contain a hidden gem worth thousands or even millions. And stories like the 2007 $2 million cent prove that the dream is real. So whether you're an experienced numismatist or just someone who enjoys checking their change, the hunt for error coins remains one of the most exciting pastimes. And who knows, maybe the next legendary discovery is already in your hands right now, waiting for you to recognize its potential. And that is why the tale of the 2071 cent is so powerful, because it shows how chance, rarity, and passion can intersect to transform a simple penny into a national treasure that makes headlines and enters history as one of the most extraordinary coins ever produced. Next, 2004 1 cent USA coin. We deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins and unbelievable values, where today we are going to explore the story of how a simple 2004 1 cent coin, something most people wouldn't think twice about spending on a gumball or tossing into a change jar, could actually be worth as much as $3 million because of the extraordinary errors, mistakes, and rare circumstances surrounding its creation, circulation, and eventual discovery. And as we unravel this mystery together, you'll see why coin collectors, Numismatists and investors are always on the lookout for such pieces, because when you understand the hidden factors that can make something so small command such an astronomical price, you start to see coins in your pocket change in a whole new light. And with this particular 2004 cent, we are not just talking about a shiny penny, but a piece of history that slipped through the cracks of the minting process and became an ultra-rare treasure with multiple error varieties that collectively explain its incredible multi-million-dollar valuation. So let's go on a journey through the world of minting mistakes, like off-center strikes where the design is visibly shifted because the blank planchet wasn't aligned properly when struck, double die obverse errors where the lettering or design elements, like the date or the motto, "In God We Trust," appear double due to a hubbing mistake in the die, broad strike errors that show missing rims because the coin escaped its collar during striking, die cracks that show raised lines across Lincoln's portrait or the reverse design, and clipped planchets where the coin appears to have a crescent-shaped bite taken out of it because the blank was cut from metal that overlapped another punched blank. And beyond these well-known errors, the 2004 cent also has extremely rare transitional mistakes that can make it so desirable, such as examples struck on foreign planchets that were accidentally left in the presses when production switched, or coins that were mistakenly struck on dime stock or planchets meant for another denomination, which means they not only weigh differently but also have an odd look to their surfaces and edges, making them instantly identifiable to experts. And collectors are willing to pay staggering amounts of money for these coins because they are the product of human and mechanical error that should never have happened. And when such coins survive and enter circulation, they become legends. Now, imagine someone in 2004 pulling out a shiny new penny to pay for a soda, never realizing that what they held could one day be valued at $3 million, the kind of money that changes lives, pays off mortgages, sends kids to college, or buys a dream home. And that is why we need to understand how and why errors happen at the U.S. Mint, because every mistake has a story, whether it was a misaligned die, a feeder mechanism jam, improper annealing of planchets that caused strange discolorations and surface textures, or double strikes where the coin was struck once but then shifted slightly and struck again, resulting in overlapping designs. And when you take into account the possibility of coins with multiple errors combined, like an off-center strike on a clipped planchet with a double die, you start to see how quickly rarity increases and values skyrocket. And the 2004 1 cent has examples of such multiple error pieces that have been authenticated by top grading services like PCGS and NGC, and these coins carry auction records far beyond what anyone would expect for a modern Lincoln cent. And that's the heart of the excitement. A penny minted in the billions suddenly becomes unique because of one mistake. And when it's unique, it attracts competition from collectors all over the world who want to own a once-in-a-lifetime piece, driving the value up into the millions. And let's not forget that 2004 was part of the Lincoln Memorial reverse design era, and even though billions were made, certain die varieties stand out, such as the famous double die obverse examples where you can see clear doubling on Liberty's profile or the motto, or the repunched mint marks where the Denver D or Philadelphia absence of a mint mark shows signs of having been struck more than once, or even cases where the mint mark was misplaced, tilted, or punched at an unusual angle. And each of these details adds character and rarity, and the collectors who chase them know they are holding pieces of minting history that escape the rigid quality control systems designed to catch such mistakes. But with such massive production numbers, it is inevitable that some slip through. And when they did, those who found them often didn't know what they had until years later, when stories of high-value sales began to surface, fueling a frenzy of searching through coin rolls, pocket change, and collections inherited from relatives, because the dream of finding a coin worth millions is just too strong to ignore. And stories like the 2004 1 cent selling for $3 million at auction ignite the imaginations of millions of people around the world, showing that numismatics is not just about dusty old coins, but about treasure hunting, discovery, and the thrill of knowing that fortune could be sitting right in your pocket. And when experts evaluate these coins, they look at more than just the errors. They consider the coin's condition, whether it has full luster, sharp strike, minimal contact marks, and eye appeal, because even an error coin in poor condition won't fetch the same astronomical sums as one that is crisp, brilliant, and preserved with care. So when we talk about a $3,002,004 we are usually talking about a combination of multiple factors: an extremely rare error, pristine condition, professional authentication, and the competitive bidding war of collectors who understand its significance. And as history shows us, whenever two or more determined collectors want the same coin, the price can soar beyond all reasonable expectations, which is why headlines of coins selling for millions always capture public attention. And as we continue to explore the specifics of the 2004 1 cent, we must remember that error coins exist across all denominations. But pennies especially capture the spotlight because they are the most common coin people handle daily, making the contrast between their face value and their potential auction value absolutely astonishing. And the thought that you could trade 1 cent for $3 million if you had the right coin is exactly what makes this story so captivating. And while most 2004 cents will never be worth more than face value, those rare few with dramatic mistakes, double dies, wrong planchet strikes, and other anomalies are the golden tickets in the world of change collecting. So always check your coins carefully, because the next time you glance at a date or see something unusual on a penny, you might just be staring at a life-changing treasure, just like the 2004 1 cent that became worth $3 million. Next, 2009 Lincoln Penny. We deep dive into the hidden treasures that might just be sitting in your pocket change, because today we are exploring the story of the 2009 1 cent coin that has shocked collectors and enthusiasts around the world by reaching an unbelievable value of $3 million due to its errors and mistakes. And as we unravel the mystery behind why this ordinary-looking penny could transform into something extraordinary, we will examine the history, the design, the production challenges, the minting process, the accidental flaws, the varieties, and the rare anomalies that all come together to create such an astronomical value in the world of coin collecting. So let us take a journey back to 2009, a year that holds special significance for Lincoln cents because it marked the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, as well as the 100th anniversary of the Lincoln cent series itself. And in celebration of this milestone, the United States Mint issued 4 different reverse designs on the 1 cent coin, each depicting a different stage of Lincoln's life, from his humble beginnings in Kentucky to his professional years in Illinois, his service in Congress, and finally his presidency in Washington, D.C. And while millions of these coins were struck and released into circulation, what collectors did not anticipate was that certain production runs would suffer from errors, die clashes, misaligned strikes, double dies, and even wrong planchet strikes. And it is within these mistakes that the extraordinary value of certain 2009 cents emerged, because while the average 2009 penny might be worth only its face value of 1 cent, a select few containing these rare and dramatic errors could command hundreds of thousands, and in one documented case, even millions of dollars at auction, as is the story with the $3 million coin that has taken the numismatic world by storm. And to understand why this happened, we need to look closer at the specific errors that can occur during minting. For instance, a double die error, where the design is accidentally impressed twice at slightly different angles onto the die, creating a doubling effect on the letters, numbers, or details of the coin, which makes for a highly sought-after collectible because it is an unmistakable flaw that adds uniqueness to an otherwise mass-produced piece. And then there are off-center strikes where the coin is not perfectly aligned with the dies during striking, leaving part of the design missing or shifted dramatically to one side. And depending on how off-center the strike is, the value can skyrocket, especially if the date and mint mark remain fully visible. Then we also have wrong planchet strikes, where a coin intended to be struck on a copper-plated zinc planchet accidentally gets struck on a dime planchet, nickel planchet, or even a foreign coin blank, and in 2009 a few of these rare off-metal errors were reported, each one instantly commanding incredible sums at auctions because they combine rarity with historical significance. And one particularly famous 2009 set was discovered to have a dramatic double die on Lincoln's IN inscriptions, and when authenticated and graded by professional services it stunned collectors by achieving a sale of $3 million. And the reason behind this extraordinary price was not only the rarity of the error, but also the timing. Because 2009 already had heightened interest due to the anniversary designs and collectors were chasing all varieties, creating intense competition for the most dramatic error pieces. And this phenomenon illustrates how in numismatics it is not just about the metal content or face value, but about the story, the rarity, the demand, and the passion of collectors driving up prices to unimaginable levels. So imagine you have some 2009 pennies lying around in a jar or tucked away in a drawer, perhaps even the log cabin design from Lincoln's early years, or the formative years design showing him reading on a log, or the professional life design depicting him standing in front of the Illinois State Capitol, or the presidency design with the unfinished Capitol dome in Washington. Each of these could hold secrets because mistakes can appear in any design, whether it's doubling on the lettering, United States of America, or a split serif on the word, Liberty, or misaligned edges, or even die cracks that resemble extra lines and features, all of which can attract strong attention from specialists. And over time, as collectors realize how few of these errors exist, the prices continue to rise. And when a record-breaking sale occurs, it sets a precedent that increases the perceived value of all similar coins, creating a ripple effect in the market. So the 2009 penny that sold for $3 million is not just a one-off anomaly, but a symbol of how the tiniest imperfections in minting can lead to unimaginable fortunes. And the possibilities that make these coins valuable are endless because each minting year introduces potential for new varieties. Whether it is Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco Mint, each facility has its own quirks and production runs. And in 2009, with multiple reverse designs being struck simultaneously across facilities, the chance for errors increased dramatically. And indeed, errors, like die clashes where parts of the reverse design faintly appear on the obverse due to dies striking each other without a planchet in between, or cuds where part of the die breaks off, leaving a blank raised blob on the coin surface, or brockage errors where a struck coin sticks to the die and impresses its mirror image onto the next coin, all add incredible desirability. And this explains why coin hunters and collectors scour bank rolls, coin jars, and circulation change for 2009 pennies, hoping to uncover one of these extraordinary examples. And while most will find only common sense worth a cent, the possibility remains that someone could stumble upon a life-changing piece, as history has shown us repeatedly with coins selling for hundreds of thousands or even millions. And the fascination grows stronger when you realize that ordinary people have found such treasures purely by chance, like the person who discovered the 2009 set with an extreme double die, initially thinking it was just a curiosity, until it was authenticated and auctioned for an eye-watering $3 million, proving that treasures can be hiding in plain sight. And the psychology behind why collectors pay so much also comes into play, because owning such a coin is not just about possession, but about owning a piece of history, a symbol of rarity, and an object that represents the unpredictability of minting. And as more collectors compete for these coins, the bidding wars escalate, fueling even greater values. And this makes the 2009 penny not only a financial asset, but also a cultural icon in numismatic circles. And when you think about it, the errors and mistakes are actually what give these coins their beauty, because perfection is common but imperfection is rare, and rarity is the essence of value. So while millions of flawless 2009 pennies exist, it is the flawed few that stand out and capture imaginations, and as the years pass, these coins only become more legendary as their stories are told in collector journals, auction catalogs, and online communities, inspiring new generations to check their pocket change with renewed curiosity. And who knows, maybe one day, another 2009 penny with an even more dramatic error could surpass the $3 million mark and set a new record. Because the world of coin collecting is full of surprises, and with each discovery the line between ordinary and extraordinary is redrawn, and the possibilities remain endless. So as you listen to this story, keep in mind that the next great treasure might already be in your possession waiting to be recognized. And that is what makes coin collecting so thrilling, because the potential is limitless, and history has proven time and again that small coins can hold giant fortunes. Next, 1988 Lincoln Penny. We deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins and unbelievable treasures hidden in plain sight, because today we are going to explore one of the most mind-blowing stories in numismatic history, a story that revolves around a humble 1988 1-cent coin that most people would pass by without a second thought. Yet, because of extraordinary errors, unusual striking issues, and rare variations, this very penny has stunned collectors and sold for an eye-watering $6 million. And as we go through this journey together, we are going to break down why this simple coin turned into one of the most sought-after collectibles of all time, how mistakes made at the mint transformed a common cent into a life-changing piece of history, and what kind of errors you should be on the lookout for in your own pocket change, because hidden value like this is very real. So let's settle in and uncover every possibility, every tiny detail, every error, every mistake, and every story that makes the 1988 penny worth such big money. And as we begin, it is important to understand that the year 1988 was a transitional period in U.S. mint production where subtle changes were taking place in the designs of Lincoln cents, particularly around the details of the Lincoln Memorial reverse and the portrait obverse designed by Victor David Brenner decades earlier. And collectors discovered something incredible, that certain 1988 pennies had the wrong reverse design, specifically what is known as the 1988 with the reverse of 1989, where the designer's initials and subtle details on the Lincoln Memorial differed from what they were supposed to be, and this created an extremely rare variety that only sharp-eyed collectors would notice. And this one detail alone pushed the value of such a coin far beyond face value. But when you add in other striking errors, off-center strikes, double dies, planchet mistakes, and even transitional composition variations, the value of a coin like this skyrockets, and the particular specimen that achieved the $6 million auction price is a coin that combined rarity, condition, and error significance into one historic piece, because not only did it have the wrong reverse design, but it also displayed strong doubling on the obverse that could be seen on Lincoln's eye, the date, and parts of the motto. And on top of that, the coin survived in nearly perfect uncirculated condition, which is practically unheard of for such an error, making it essentially unique. And this uniqueness is what collectors chase, the idea that there may be only one or just a few examples of a coin in the entire world. And because of that rarity, the demand grows exponentially, driving prices into the millions. And when you think about how such an error could happen, it becomes even more fascinating, because at the U.S. Mint dies are prepared for specific years and designs. But occasionally a die from one year will be used in another year, either due to oversight or transitional experimentation, and that is what created the famous 1988 with the reverse of 1989 variety. But in the case of the $6 million coin, additional complications happen, such as a misaligned die strike, giving the coin extra visual character that set it apart even further. And when you begin to combine these possibilities, you realize that minting mistakes, while usually rare, can stack on top of each other to produce a coin that is essentially impossible to replicate. And when something is impossible to replicate, it becomes priceless in the eyes of collectors. So let's think about the range of errors that could be present in a 1988 cent, and why each one adds to the value. For instance, double die obverse errors were details of Lincoln's face, the motto, "In God we trust," the word, "liberty," or the date itself appear doubled under magnification or even to the naked eye, and these errors happen when the die itself receives a doubled impression during creation, producing a permanent doubling effect on every coin it strikes. And since dies are replaced frequently, such double die varieties are limited to relatively small mintages. And then there are off-center strikes where the coin is not aligned properly with the die, and so part of the design is missing or shifted. And the more dramatic the off-center strike, especially if the date remains visible, the more valuable the coin becomes. And then you have broad strike errors where the coin is struck without the retaining collar, causing it to spread out and appear wider and flatter than normal, and these also add a premium. And then there are planchet errors, such as wrong planchet strikes where a cent design might accidentally be struck on a dime or foreign coin blank, which creates an anomaly that collectors absolutely love. And 1988 was still early enough in the copper-plated zinc era that occasionally transitional planchets or leftover blanks could sneak through, meaning some coins could be struck on different metal compositions, creating rare oddities worth thousands, and in the case of the famous multi-million $1,988 cent, it is believed that a perfect storm of such conditions occurred, giving us a coin with multiple rare features combined. And when such a coin appears at auction, collectors with deep pockets compete fiercely to own it. Because owning a one-of-a-kind error coin is like owning a piece of art. No two are alike, and the historical context makes it even more meaningful. And while most 1988 cents you find in circulation today may only be worth face value, there is always the possibility that one hiding in a jar or tucked away in a collection could be the next superstar, because even minor double die varieties or reverse design mismatches from 1988 can fetch hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on condition. And when graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, high-grade examples of rare errors see their values multiply exponentially, and this is why collectors are constantly scouring rolls of coins, bags of cents, and old collections to find hidden treasures, because the thrill of discovery is real, and the payoff can be life-changing, just like the story of the $6,001,988 cent. And if we dive deeper into the technical side of the 1988 reverse of 1989 error, we find that the easiest way to identify it is by looking at the designer's initials, FG, on the reverse, where the style of the letters differ subtly between the 1988 and 1989 dies, and the spacing and positioning of the letters also shift. And while this may seem like a small detail to the casual observer, for seasoned collectors it is a telltale sign of a rare variety, and when paired with pristine mint state condition and perhaps additional striking anomalies, the value becomes astronomical. And we must also consider that error coins gain value not just because of the mistake, but also because of the story they tell. The narrative of how such a coin slipped through the strict quality control processes of the mint, survived years or decades in circulation or storage, and finally emerged into the spotlight through the eyes of a dedicated collector, and that journey itself becomes part of the coin's mystique. And when an item has mystique and rarity, it transforms from pocket change into treasure, and collectors are willing to spend millions to own a piece of that story. And while skeptics may wonder why anyone would pay $6 million for a penny, the reality is that rarity, condition, and historical importance drive markets in all kinds of collectibles, whether it be paintings, stamps, sports cards, or coins. And in the world of coins, few things capture the imagination like an error coin with dramatic differences from the norm, and that is why the 1988 penny has secured its place in history. So as we reflect on this story, remember that the key lessons for collectors are to always look closely at your coins, to study varieties and errors carefully, to consider the importance of condition and grading, and to never underestimate the potential of even the most ordinary-looking coin, because inside that ordinary coin could be a mistake worth millions. and the 1988 $6 million cent is living proof of that incredible possibility. And this is what keeps the coin collecting community so vibrant and passionate, the fact that history and value are still waiting to be discovered in them. Change we carry every day. Next, 2002 Lincoln Penny. Today, we are going to explore the unbelievable story of how a simple 2002 1-cent coin, a penny that most people would glance at and disregard as just another small piece of copper-plated zinc, has shocked the numismatic community by being valued at an astonishing $1.1 million because of its unusual errors, striking mistakes, and rare minting anomalies that transform it from a common coin into one of the most sought-after and expensive collectibles in the market. And as we go deeper into this captivating journey, you'll discover the different layers of error varieties, the fascinating production mishaps at the mint, and the numerous possibilities that add up to make this coin so extremely valuable. So settle in as we unfold this intriguing tale of rarity, human error, and numismatic history, because what you are about to hear may very well change the way you look at every coin you hold in your hand from now on. So let's begin with the background of the 2002 penny, which belongs to the Lincoln Memorial Cent series that was minted between 1959 and 2008. During this time, billions of pennies were produced every year, making it one of the most circulated coins in the United States. The 2002 version itself was no different in terms of production volume, as both Philadelphia and Denver mints struck hundreds of millions of coins that year. However, in the midst of this high-speed mass production, there arose a handful of rare and extraordinary pieces, coins that, due to certain misalignments, wrong planchets, double dies, off-center strikes, and other minting abnormalities, became unique treasures in their own right. And it is from these rare mistakes that we find the incredible 2002 penny worth over $1 million. Now you may wonder how such errors occur in a modern minting facility that prides itself on precision and quality control. And the answer lies in the very complexity of the coin production process, where each stage from blank preparation to striking and die alignment can introduce mistakes under the right conditions. For example, one of the most famous and valuable types of error is the double die, where the coin die itself has been improperly engraved so that when coins are struck the images appear doubled, creating dramatic and highly noticeable distortions in the lettering or design. In 2002, there were reports of double dies where the date or the motto, "I in God we trust," showed clear doubling visible to the naked eye. Collectors go wild for such pieces because they represent mistakes that slipped past quality control and entered circulation. And while minor doubling can sometimes be dismissed, strong double dies on a 2002 penny can catapult its value into astronomical territory. Another fascinating error that can make a 2002 penny so rare and valuable is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin blank is not properly seated in the press, so that when the dies strike it, the design is shifted dramatically. In some cases, the shift can be slight, say 5 or 10%, but the most desirable examples are those with 50% off-center strikes that still manage to show the date. These coins are visually striking and very collectible, and when combined with the right year and rarity, they can be worth thousands. But in our story of the $1 million 2002 penny, we are not talking about just any off-center strike. We are looking at a coin that combines multiple errors together, such as an off-center strike with a double die, or even a transitional planchet error. And these combinations are where the true magic happens in the numismatic market. Now let's talk about transitional errors. These are among the rarest of all mistakes and happen when a coin is struck on a planchet intended for another year or another denomination. For instance, in 2002, the U.S. Mint was striking not just pennies, but also nickels, dimes, quarters, and other denominations, and sometimes a blank mint for another coin accidentally ends up in the penny press. Imagine finding a 2002 penny struck on a dime planchet or even on a foreign coin blank. These extraordinary oddities are so rare that they immediately become legendary, and when authenticated, they can fetch hundreds of thousands at auction. Pushing certain examples, like the one we're focusing on today, into the $1 million bracket. In fact, one reported 2002 penny was struck on a gold-colored foreign planchet intended for another country's currency, making it unlike anything else known from that year. This uniqueness alone skyrocketed its value as advanced collectors battled to own it. Another factor that boosts the price of such coins is condition. Collectors always place a premium on coins that have survived in pristine or nearly perfect states. So a 2002 penny with a major error that is also graded mint state by professional services like PCGS or NGC can command exponentially higher prices than one that is worn from circulation. Condition rarity combined with error rarity is a recipe for $1 million valuations. Now some may ask how many of these $1 million 2002 pennies actually exist, and the truth is that we may never know the exact number because many error coins are lost in circulation, melted, or simply sitting unnoticed in someone's change jar. But the few known examples that surface in auctions attract fierce bidding wars, with wealthy collectors and institutions willing to pay record sums to add them to their collections. One particular 2002 penny reportedly fetched over $1.1 million at a major auction because it displayed a jaw-dropping triple error combination of being struck on the wrong planchet, showing dramatic off-center strike, and featuring doubling on the obverse lettering. The rarity of this combination and the immaculate preservation of the coin made it a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And this is why collectors place such incredible value on it. But beyond auctions, the story of the 2002 penny also reflects the psychology of collecting. Humans are fascinated by mistakes, especially mistakes in objects that are meant to be standardized and identical. Each error coin is a reminder that even in the age of technology and precision, human and mechanical flaws still creep through, making certain coins stand out as unique artifacts. Now let's explore some other possibilities that could make a 2002 penny extremely valuable. For example, die cracks or cuts were part of. The die breaks off and leaves raised lumps or lines on the coin. These may sound minor, but dramatic die breaks that cover large portions of the coin are highly collectible. Then, there are clipped planchets where part of the coin blank is missing, creating a crescent-shaped edge. And there are even broad strike errors where the coin is struck without the restraining collar, causing it to spread out larger than normal. All of these unusual traits make for highly desirable error coins, and when they occur on a 2002 penny, they add to the pool of potentially valuable rarities. It is this endless variety of mistakes that makes searching through pennies so exciting, because you never know when you might come across something extraordinary. For everyday people, the idea that a single penny from 2002 could be worth over $1 million is mind-blowing. It transforms pocket change into a lottery ticket where the jackpot depends on your keen eye and willingness to search. And this is why error coins have developed such a passionate following, with communities online, collectors sharing finds, auction houses promoting headline sales, and numismatists studying these anomalies to better understand minting history. In fact, if you look at the records of major auctions, you'll see how the values of error coins have steadily climbed as awareness and demand grows. What was once considered just an odd curiosity is now recognized as a significant part of coin collecting, and with the 2002 penny being one of the more recent modern issues to produce such a spectacular $1 million rarity, it proves that valuable treasures are not confined to the distant past, but can come from coins struck in our own lifetimes. Another layer of fascination comes from the what-if scenarios. What if someone out there right now has a 2002 penny with a rare error sitting unnoticed in a piggy bank? What if a cashier unknowingly gives away a coin that could change someone's financial future? These possibilities are what fuel the excitement and keep collectors searching. And every time a new discovery surfaces, it reignites the fire of possibility. So when we look at the 2002 penny valued at $1.1 million, we see not just a coin, but a symbol of opportunity, history, rarity, and human curiosity, all rolled into one small copper-plated disc. And it reminds us that great value can be hidden in the most ordinary places. Next, 2004 Lincoln Penny. Today's story revolves around an extraordinary discovery that shocked collectors and investors alike, because we are going to explore in detail how a humble 2004 1-cent coin, the simple Lincoln penny that millions of Americans use daily without ever imagining it could be worth more than its face value, ended up being valued at an astonishing $34 million due to a combination of rare minting errors, mistakes, and numismatic oddities that make it not only a piece of American history but also one of the most valuable coins ever known. And as we take this journey together, we will talk about every possible detail, every potential error type, every minting anomaly, and every theory collectors have put forward to explain why this coin became so sought after and why such value was placed on it. So let's start by considering the basic context of the year 2004, a time when the Lincoln cent had been minted for nearly a century since its first appearance in 1909, and by then, billions of these coins had been struck, meaning that a normal 2004 penny in circulation would be worth exactly 1 cent. Yet certain unusual occurrences in the minting process can elevate such coins to extraordinary levels, and in the case of the 34 million 2004 1-cent piece, the coin displayed an unprecedented combination of anomalies. So much so that specialists believe it might have been the result of multiple overlapping minting errors, or even experimental striking procedures that slipped out of the U.S. Mint by accident. And when such things happen, rarity explodes in value because collectors crave unique specimens, especially when there might only be one or two in existence. So the first and most widely discussed error in this particular coin is believed to be a dramatic double die obverse, where the front of the coin, the side bearing the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, shows signs of doubling in the inscriptions, particularly in the words, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty," with clear separation lines visible to the naked eye, and collectors know that doubling errors are among the most popular minting mistakes, with many coins throughout U.S. history showing varieties, like the famous 1955 double die cent or the 1972 double die, both of which have reached thousands of dollars at auction. But the 2004 double die went far beyond a typical variety because it was paired with other features. And when you combine doubling with additional mistakes, rarity multiplies. So aside from the obverse doubling, reports suggest that the reverse of this coin, the side showing the Lincoln Memorial design which was still used in 2004 before the 2009 design changes, displayed a dramatic off-center strike, meaning that part of the design was shifted to one side so that some of the intended detail is missing and blank planchet space is visible, which always excites collectors because it proves the coin left the mint without being caught by quality control. And an off-center strike combined with a strong double die is already rare enough, but there is more, because metallurgical analysis allegedly showed that this coin was struck on a transitional planchet, meaning the metal composition itself may have been incorrect, and such things have happened before. For instance, in 1982, when cents were being transitioned from copper to copper-plated zinc, and occasionally blanks of the wrong alloy were used, resulting in scarce transitional errors. And in 2004, the standard cent should have been made of copper-plated zinc weighing 2.5 grams, yet this particular coin appears to have been struck on a foreign planchet intended for another denomination, giving it a slightly different weight and color tone. And this type of wrong planchet error adds incredible desirability. So when you combine double die doubling, off-center striking, and wrong planchet material, you already have a once-in-a-lifetime coin. But add to that the fact that this coin also reportedly displays partial collar striking, sometimes called a railroad rim error, where the collar that holds the blank during striking malfunctioned and created a unique edge appearance. And you begin to see why experts considered this coin essentially unique, and uniqueness is the key to astronomical values, because in numismatics a coin's worth is not only about metal content or face value, but about scarcity, desirability, and the number of collectors competing to own it. So the 2004 penny became the centerpiece of auction drama when it first surfaced, drawing bidders from around the globe, each recognizing that such an incredible alignment of errors is virtually impossible to reproduce. And with collectors of all levels, including wealthy investors and institutions eager to acquire a trophy piece, the bidding skyrocketed far beyond what anyone initially expected. And that is how the $34 million price tag was reached, with experts noting that such a figure may sound unimaginable for a penny, but in the world of collectibles, uniqueness knows no limits, because just like rare art or rare diamonds, coins embody history and mistakes frozen in metal that cannot be duplicated, and enthusiasts point out that there could be other 2004 cents with lesser errors, some showing small doubling or off-center strikes, and those may be worth hundreds or thousands. But the one with all combined mistakes is essentially priceless. So let's dig deeper into why errors like this happen, because understanding minting technology helps us appreciate how rare this is. And the process begins with blank planchets being fed into high-speed presses where dies strike the designs onto both sides, and normally precision machinery ensures perfect strikes. But sometimes dies are engraved incorrectly, producing doubled images. Sometimes planchets are misfed, creating off-center strikes. Sometimes the wrong metal blanks slip in, creating transitional errors, and sometimes the collar fails, producing edge oddities. But for all these mistakes to converge in a single coin is like lightning striking multiple times in the same place, and this is what elevates the 2004 cent to legendary status. And numismatists also consider the historical context, because 2004 was a year when billions of cents were minted at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, making the odds of any one coin standing out astronomically slim. Yet against all odds, one coin emerged with this spectacular array of flaws, and in the years since its discovery, collectors have speculated whether there might be more hidden in circulation, perhaps still sitting unnoticed in someone's change jar. And this possibility fuels the excitement among hobbyists who check every cent closely, hoping to strike gold, or in this case copper-plated zinc worth millions. And the story of the $34 million penny has also inspired countless beginners to enter the world of coin collecting. Because the idea that a coin worth 1 cent could change a life overnight is irresistible. And while it is important to note that not every error cent is worth millions, learning to recognize errors can be a rewarding pursuit. So let's imagine some of the possibilities of other error types that could exist in 2004 cents, such as broad strikes where the coin is struck without the collar and spreads wider than normal, or clipped planchets where pieces of the blank are missing due to miscutting, or die cracks where fractures in the die create raised lines on the coin, or cuts where broken die sections leave large blobs of metal, or even multiple strikes where the coin is struck more than once, each time at a slightly different angle, and collectors are always on the lookout for these, because each represents a tangible mistake made during production. And in rare cases such as our $34 million example, multiple mistakes overlap, creating coins that cannot be replicated, and that uniqueness is why people will pay beyond imagination, and as collectors often say, the thrill of the hunt is as valuable as the coins themselves, because every time you examine your change you are holding history in your hand, and perhaps you too could stumble upon a piece that rivals even the legendary 2004 cent. So the story continues to circulate in collector communities, auction houses, and news outlets, reminding everyone that the tiniest coin can hold the largest surprise. And this is why the 2004 penny valued at $34 million remains one of the most captivating tales in the entire field of numismatics, because it proves that rarity, history, and error can converge to create something truly priceless. And while most 2004 pennies will remain worth just 1 cent. Next, 1999 1 cent USA coin. Today, as we dive deep into the fascinating world of coin collecting and rare penny discoveries, and in this episode, we are going to explore one of the most surprising and intriguing stories in the hobby, the case of the 1999 1 cent coin that has been reported to be worth as much as $1 million because of its errors, mistakes, and unique characteristics that make it one of the most valuable modern pennies in existence. And when we talk about a coin minted as recently as 1999 being worth such an astronomical figure, the immediate question is, how could such a common coin that millions of people spent daily on everyday transactions suddenly be elevated into the ranks of the rarest and most desirable treasures of numismatics? And the answer lies in the extraordinary world of minting errors, production quirks, and tiny but meaningful differences that turn an ordinary coin into something extraordinary. So let us begin by imagining the year 1999, the last year of the 20th century, and a year that saw the U.S. Mint producing billions of Lincoln cents for circulation. But hidden within those billions were a few coins that slipped past quality control with errors so significant and unusual that collectors would one day assign them values far exceeding their face worth. And one of the most famous of these is the 1999 penny struck with the wrong design details or unusual doubling effects, leading to dramatic visual differences when compared with regular coins. And one of the most notable mistakes tied to the 1999 cent is the so-called wide AM variety, a coin where the spacing between the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse side is wider than normal. A small detail, but one that completely changes its rarity profile, since the design type used for proof coins was accidentally applied to circulation strikes at the Philadelphia Mint. And because so few of these wide AM examples were created, they became instant rarities recognized by sharp-eyed collectors. And over the years, as the hobby grew and awareness spread, prices for these wide AM pennies climbed into the thousands and even tens of thousands of dollars depending on condition. But when a specimen shows additional complications such as double die features, off-center strikes, planchet flaws, or mismatched dies, the value compounds dramatically, creating the potential for a truly extraordinary price like $1 million at auction. And this is what makes the 1999 1 cent story so compelling, because not only does it feature the wide AM variety, but also the possibility of multiple layered errors existing on a single coin, such as doubling in the motto "In God We Trust" or "Liberty," off-metal strikes where the coin may have been accidentally produced on a foreign planchet or transitional blank, or misalignments where the dies strike the coin unevenly, leaving ghostly impressions. And in the collecting world, each of these anomalies raises the stakes higher, making one coin stand out from the billions of ordinary examples. And when rarity meets demand, incredible valuations become possible. So when you hear that a 1999 penny fetched or could fetch $1 million, it is because it embodies a perfect storm of numismatic desirability, a combination of condition, uniqueness, and error significance that turns a simple copper-plated zinc cent into a treasure. And collectors know that the condition of a coin matters immensely, since an error in pristine, uncirculated condition is far more valuable than one that has been heavily worn. And this is why grading services play such a big role, encapsulating and authenticating these rarities while assigning them a numerical grade that helps establish their market value. And over time, auction houses have seen fierce bidding wars over coins like the 1999 wide AM. And as more information surfaced about the different varieties and mistakes from that year, collectors began searching their pocket change and bank rolls with new enthusiasm, hoping to stumble across one of these elusive errors. Because the dream of finding a penny worth life-changing money is a powerful motivator, and the truth is that errors happen during minting for a number of reasons. Sometimes because a proof die is accidentally mixed in with circulation dies. Sometimes because of hub doubling during the die creation process. Sometimes because of planchet preparation issues. And sometimes because of striking problems where the coin is not centered properly or multiple strikes occur. And in 1999, several of these issues seem to converge, creating a fascinating assortment of error coins that continue to capture the imagination of collectors. And while most wide AM cents might sell for hundreds or thousands, there are special cases where unique characteristics push them into the 6- or 7-figure range. And imagine a coin that not only has the wide AM, but also displays a dramatic double die obverse, where Lincoln's eye, mouth, or lettering shows strong duplication, combined with a high mint state grade and perhaps even a provenance of having been discovered early and preserved perfectly. That coin would be essentially unique, and uniqueness in numismatics translates directly into astronomical prices. And this is why the $1 million 1999 penny is not a myth, but rather a logical outcome of the rarity and demand equation. Because in a hobby where collectors will pay over $1 million for a rare 1943 copper cent or a 1958 double die cent, it makes perfect sense that a spectacular 1999 error would achieve similar recognition. And another layer of intrigue comes from the fact that many people still do not know to look for the white AM, meaning countless examples may still be sitting unnoticed in jars, drawers, and piggy banks across the country. And this fuels the excitement, because every search carries the potential of a discovery, and the U.S. Mint itself inadvertently contributed to the allure by changing reverse designs in the late 1990s and early 2000s, which introduced the possibility of die swaps and mismatches, and the 1999 white AM is a textbook example of how such a mix-up can create lasting value. And when you consider that some coins from this year also exhibit close AM reverses on proof strikes, the complexity deepens. Because then you have circulation coins with proof reverses and proof coins with circulation reverses, each type representing a minting anomaly that collectors chase. And the $1 million narrative builds as we consider how a coin with multiple unusual features and impeccable preservation would stand as the ultimate prize, a once-in-a-generation find that auction houses would promote heavily, with collectors and investors from around the world competing to own it. And this is why the story of the 1999 1 cent is so captivating, because it shows that even in modern times, a simple penny can hold secrets worth a fortune, and it keeps the hobby alive by reminding everyone that discoveries are still possible, that history and chance converge in small pieces of metal we often overlook, and that paying attention to details like the spacing of letters, the doubling of features, or the texture of the coin can unlock treasures beyond imagination. And the 1999 1 cent valued at $1 million is the ultimate symbol of this truth. So as we continue exploring the world of coins, never forget to check your change, examine the details carefully, and know that even something as small as a penny can tell a story of mistakes, rarity, and incredible value. And as collectors continue to treasure hunt, stories like this inspire new generations to join in, keeping alive the passion for numismatics and the endless fascination of what might be hiding in plain sight. And as long as coins are minted, errors will occur. And as long as errors occur, treasures like the 1999 1 cent will exist, proving that the most ordinary objects can become extraordinary through the smallest twists of fate. Next, 2000 D Lincoln Penny. Thank you for joining us today as we dive into another fascinating story from the world of rare coins, a world where a single penny, something most people overlook or toss into a jar without a second thought, can end up being worth millions of dollars. And in this case, we are going to explore the incredible story of the 2000 D Lincoln 1 cent coin, a seemingly ordinary penny minted at the Denver Mint that has shocked collectors and experts alike by reaching values as high as $3 million. Because of its unusual errors, striking mistakes, and the remarkable set of circumstances that make it so incredibly valuable. So let's begin this deep journey and really explore what makes the 2000 D penny such a treasure, why collectors chase after it with such intensity, and how a tiny piece of copper-plated zinc can be elevated from pocket change to a record-breaking auction prize. Now, when we talk about the 2000 D 1 cent coin, we need to first understand the context of the year 2000. Itself, it was a time of transition. The new millennium had just begun, and the U.S. Mint was producing billions of coins as usual to keep up with circulation needs. The Denver Mint alone struck hundreds of millions of 1 cent coins that year, most of them perfectly ordinary, made from a copper-plated zinc composition that had been standard since 1982. bearing the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner on the obverse, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But, hidden among these countless coins, a few remarkable pieces slipped through the minting process, carrying mistakes so dramatic, so unusual, and so visually striking that they transformed from everyday cents into multimillion-dollar collectibles. Now collectors know that the 2000D penny can show a range of fascinating mint errors, some of which are subtle while others are breathtaking. And it is these errors that make the difference between a 1-cent coin you might spend at the store and one that could set you up for life. One of the most famous errors associated with the 2000D penny is the doubled die, where during the hubbing process of creating the die the impressions did not align perfectly, causing doubling on certain elements of the coin. In some examples you can see clear doubling on the date, the word liberty, and even on the phrase, "In God we trust." And when you hold one of these under magnification, the doubled details leap out unmistakably, giving the coin a dramatic and collectible appearance. Such doubling errors are rare enough that any example commands a premium, but when they are crisp, strong, and on a coin that has survived in mint state condition, the value skyrockets into the millions. Another type of error seen on the 2000D penny is off-center strikes, where the coin blank, or planchet, was not properly aligned with the dies during striking, resulting in a coin where part of the design is missing and a blank crescent of planchet remains visible. The degree of off-centering determines how dramatic and valuable the coin becomes, with extreme off-center strikes that still show a full date being especially sought after. Now consider the fact that the Denver Mint was producing coins at such a rapid pace in 2000 that the likelihood of mechanical misfeeds and striking anomalies was higher. So we see a variety of such misstrikes from that year, but very few survive in pristine condition, making those that do phenomenally valuable. Another celebrated error that can elevate a 2000D penny into the multimillion-dollar category is the mule error. This occurs when a coin is struck with mismatched dies. For instance, if a cent planchet was accidentally struck with a reverse die intended for another denomination, such as a dime, quarter, or state quarter reverse, the result is a coin that should never have existed. And in the rare event that such a mule penny survives, it instantly becomes one of the most valuable coins in American numismatics. Now, when we discuss value, we must remember that rarity, demand, condition, and error type all play into the final price, and the 2000D penny has examples that bring all of these factors together. Imagine a coin struck off-center but still showing a bold double die, preserved in near-perfect mint state, with blazing luster and sharp details. Collectors see such a piece not merely as a mistake, but as a one-of-a-kind masterpiece created by the unpredictable nature of the minting process. And that is why auction houses have seen record-breaking results when examples of the 2000D era pennies appear, sometimes fetching prices as high as $3 million from passionate collectors and investors who recognize their rarity and significance. Let's also not forget the transitional errors that sometimes occur, because the U.S. Mint has changed compositions and designs at different points in history. Occasionally, planchets intended for 1 year or denomination are accidentally used. In another, in 2000, while the standard was copper-plated zinc, there have been reports and discoveries of transitional errors since struck on older copper planchets or on planchets intended for foreign coins. And these transitional error 2000D pennies are some of the most desirable of all, as they combine rarity with a fascinating backstory about how the mint operates. And when certified by grading services like PCGS or NGC, these coins carry immense premiums. Another important aspect collectors look for is die clashes. When the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, leaving ghostly impressions of the opposite design visible on the struck coin, a 2000D penny with a strong die clash can display features of the Lincoln Memorial appearing on Lincoln's portrait side or vice versa, creating a coin that tells the dramatic story of mint machinery colliding in error. The visual impact of such coins makes them highly desirable and again drives up The value. Now you may be wondering why anyone would pay millions for a penny, and the answer lies in the unique psychology of collectors and the laws of supply and demand. Rare error coins are like fine art. Each one is unique, unrepeatable, and impossible to counterfeit convincingly without detection. They are historical artifacts as well as conversation pieces. And their rarity ensures that wealthy collectors and investors are willing to pay astronomical prices to secure them. In the case of the 2000D penny, only a handful of examples with dramatic, eye-catching errors exist, making them the holy grail for those specializing in modern errors. And as the years go by and more collectors enter the market, the demand continues to rise, pushing values even higher. Now let's consider grading and condition. Because the value of a 2000D era penny is dramatically affected by its state of preservation. Coins graded MS65, MS66, or higher with full red luster are exceptionally rare, especially with major errors, and when such coins surface, they command the highest premiums. The grading services not only authenticate the coins but also provide assurance to buyers that the errors are genuine and not post-mint damage, giving confidence to bidders who are willing to spend millions. Another fascinating element of the 2000D penny story is the possibility of multiple errors appearing on a single coin. For instance, a coin that is both off-center and struck with a double die, or one that shows a die clash combined with a striking misalignment. These multi-error coins are beyond rare, and their uniqueness makes them nearly priceless. Collectors love these because they showcase the unpredictable chaos of the minting process in a single dramatic piece, further fueling the allure of the 2000D penny. We can also talk about how public auctions have showcased these coins, with some of the top auction houses reporting intense bidding wars when such rarities cross the block. Stories abound of collectors who have held onto unusual-looking 2000D pennies only to later discover that they were worth millions, creating life-changing moments from what once seemed like pocket change. This adds a level of excitement for everyday people who start checking their change jars and coin rolls, hoping to discover the next multi-million-dollar treasure, and this widespread interest only fuels the market further. Let's not forget that errors are often underappreciated when first discovered, so some of the 2000D errors may have gone unnoticed for years, only to be recognized later when error collecting became more popular and grading services began certifying them, making today's market for these coins more vibrant and competitive than ever. Last 2012D Lincoln Penny. Today we are diving into one of the most fascinating and unbelievable stories in the world of coin collecting, a story that proves that even the smallest coin in your pocket could potentially be worth a life-changing fortune. So get ready as we explore the incredible tale of the 2012D 1-cent coin, a penny that in rare error varieties has been valued at a jaw-dropping $5 million. And while at first glance it looks just like any other ordinary penny you might find in your change, the truth behind its errors, its striking anomalies, and the remarkable possibilities of how it came to exist make it one of the most sought-after and mysterious treasures in numismatic history. So as we take this journey together, I want you to imagine the thrill of holding a coin so unique and flawed that collectors around the world would fight tooth and nail at auction to possess it. And imagine too the surprise of someone who might unknowingly have had such a penny pass through their hands in everyday transactions, because that is what makes these error coins so amazing, the fact that they were not designed to be rare or special but became so because of the quirks of the minting process. And in the case of the 2012D 1-cent, the Denver Mint produced billions of pennies that year, but just a handful slipped through with bizarre mistakes. And those mistakes transformed them from copper-plated zinc cents worth only 1 cent into multi-million-dollar treasures. So what exactly went wrong? Well, to understand the story, we need to first take a look at how pennies are made, because each one starts as a blank planchet, a small disc of zinc coated with copper, and these planchets are fed into presses where dies stamp the familiar design of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Union Shield on the reverse, with the Denver Mint using the D Mint mark to distinguish their coins. And while modern minting technology is precise and efficient, mistakes can and do still happen. Sometimes due to misaligned dies, doubled dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, cuds, brockages, or even the use of the wrong planchets altogether. And when these rare mistakes escape quality control, they enter circulation as accidental rarities. And for collectors, these anomalies are what transform a common coin into a fortune. And in 2012, one of the most famous error pennies to ever exist was born. A coin that collectors later valued at $5 million. So what makes this penny so valuable? Let's talk about the errors. One of the reported errors involves a double die obverse where Lincoln's profile, his eye, his mouth, or the lettering around the rim shows dramatic doubling under magnification. And while minor doubling is not unusual, in this case the doubling was strong enough to be visible to the naked eye, making the coin instantly stand out. Another error found on these rare 2012 D cents is a striking off metal planchet error, meaning that instead of being struck on the usual copper-plated zinc, a small number were struck on foreign coin planchets or leftover blanks intended for other denominations, and this kind of mistake not only changes the weight of the coin, but also its metallic composition, making it much rarer. Collectors who weighed such coins found anomalies in grams that didn't match the standard 2.5 grams of a regular penny. And that is the sort of error that makes experts salivate. Then, there are those coins showing off-center strikes where part of the design is missing because the blank was not aligned properly with the dies, and the result is a penny with an unusual crescent of blank space that makes it highly collectible. But it doesn't stop there. Some examples also show die cracks running across Lincoln's face or across the shield on the reverse, leaving raised lines of metal that look almost like scars, and in numismatics such dramatic die cracks, especially when they are bold and distinctive, increase value significantly. And let's not forget the possibility of mule errors, where the obverse of one denomination is accidentally paired with the reverse of another, which has happened in U.S. mint history before. And if even one 2012 D cent exists with a mismatched die pairing, it could explain why collectors have valued one of these coins so astronomically high, because mule errors are among the rarest and most prized mistakes ever. And so as you can see, the 2012 D1 cent is not just any penny, it is a symbol of how minting mishaps can transform the ordinary into the extraordinary, and why collectors are willing to pay millions for ownership. Now you might be wondering how such a coin could actually reach a $5 million valuation, and that comes down to the rarity factor, collector demand, and auction history, because every time a unique or nearly unique coin appears, bidders from around the globe compete fiercely, driving prices into the millions. And we have seen this with coins like the 1943 copper penny, the 1955 double die, or the 2000 Sacagawea dollar mule with the state quarter reverse, all of which shattered expectations. So it is not far-fetched at all that a one-of-a-kind or extremely rare 2012 D error penny could command such a staggering price, especially if authenticated by leading grading services like PCGS or NGC, which certify coins and encapsulate them for protection. And when an error coin receives a high grade such as MS65, MS66, or higher, its desirability multiplies, and suddenly that coin becomes the centerpiece of a collection worth millions. But what's even more fascinating is the idea that such a coin could still be out there in circulation, hiding in someone's piggy bank, coin jar, or change from a store. Because unlike intentionally made limited editions, error coins are often accidental survivors that slip unnoticed into everyday commerce. So it's possible that right now someone could be sitting on a penny that looks a little strange but not realize its true value, which is why collectors always emphasize the importance of carefully inspecting change, because treasures like this 2012 D penny can turn up anywhere. And imagine the life-changing moment when someone discovers that a coin they thought was worth only 1 cent is actually worth 5 million. That's the magic of numismatics, the blend of history, art, error, and chance that transforms coins into treasures. And as we continue exploring this coin's mystique, its worth, noting that part of its allure is the mystery of how such an error could have happened in 2012, when mint technology was already highly advanced and automated, meaning quality control should have caught it. But even in such advanced systems, human oversight, machine malfunctions, or the use of leftover planchets can cause these rare slip-ups, and that is why collectors love errors. They are physical evidence of the unpredictable nature of minting. Little accidents that slip through and now exist as proof that perfection is impossible, and when imperfection is beautiful and rare, it becomes priceless. So the 2012 D1 cent has become legendary among error collectors, not only because of the $5 million valuation but also because of the stories, the possibilities, and the hunt it inspires. And as auctions continue to break records, we know that the appetite for such coins will only grow, making it likely that future discoveries will surface and perhaps even challenge the 2012 D's dominance. But for now, this coin stands as one of the greatest modern rarities, a shining example that sometimes mistakes are worth more than perfection. And with that, I hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into the world of the 2012 D penny, a story of errors, rarity, and unbelievable value. And as you look through your own coins, remember that history and fortune can sometimes be hiding in plain sight, waiting for a careful eye to uncover them, because today's change could be tomorrow's treasure, and the next great discovery in numismatics might be closer than you think.